The Ultimate Street Car is a hot rod specially crafted, personally engineered. It's a beautiful machine brought to life through dedicated hands. There are many passionate enthusiasts out there, but an invitation to the Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational in Las Vegas is reserved for an elite few scattered through the country. Meet Hellfire. At the moment it sits idle, waiting to be unleashed. This is a masterpiece of engineering from one of the minds behind Detroit Muscle, a model hot enough for any magazine and fierce enough to tame any course. Also from the heart of car country, an example of action speaking louder than words, where sparks fly and metal is molded into a marvel of machinery. There's little the man need say when the car is enough to steal your breath away. There are some cars that rise above your run-of-the-mill grocery getter, but that doesn't mean they can't run the street. There are times when it's not about the rewards, but the experiences, the friendships that will always outshine the brightest trophy. Passion is infectious. It fills a garage and connects kindred spirits. This Evo may seem slight, but it is all-wheel drive and all power. It also represents camaraderie, a united effort to outmuscle the American classics and prove this is anyone's game. Each car tells a different story. It's a reflection of the person behind the wheel, under the hood, and in the garage. Each story has its own beginning and ending, but each story intersects in Las Vegas. Over 100 stories are on display as pride and passion pursue history. This is the time. This is the place. This is the show. The Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
All season long, it's been about the search for Optima's Ultimate Street Car. And now all of them are here in Las Vegas for the Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational. It all kicks off at the SEMA show, the mecca for car guys, where all of the heavy hitters in the aftermarket are displaying and checking out what's hot and what's going to be big in 2015. You'll see everything from the hottest go-fast parts to the latest concepts from the Big Three and even the Batmobile. Once the competitors are chosen, you're going to find that Optima Alley is the place where every Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational competitor is on display and where the cars are the stars. Competitors take this opportunity to sit and envision what's coming up this weekend, because as the week goes on, the pressure is mounting. We also spent the time at SEMA to crown our national champions, and the first national champion in USCA history, Ken Twaits, took home this ultra cool trophy. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that Joe Escobar, in his cool little Pinto, came out on top in the under 3,000 pound category. Justin Stone took home a cool trophy as well and represented the all-wheel drive class to the nth degree. And who wouldn't love these three rad trophies sitting on the mantle at home? As a capper on a great week at the SEMA show, each and every Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational competitor is heading to SEMA Ignite through the famed SEMA After Parade. All these competitors enjoying the cruise through the center of Las Vegas and down the Las Vegas Strip. But you know that in the back of their minds, all they're caring about is getting to the weekend of racing. And who's going to come out on top? Will it be an underdog? Will it be a former champion? Or will it be one of our new stars from this season's Optima Search for the Ultimate Street Car? And some of the underdogs are going to be thrilled to death just to get a shot of them and one of Optima's cool umbrella girls.
The Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N. The Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
We're here on day one of the 2014 Optima Ultimate Streetcar Invitational, and everybody in the world is excited to be here. But I gotta tell you, the mood is changing rapidly. We have mere minutes until racing starts, and that means that everybody's getting their game face on. It could be a really interesting day.
You need adrenaline to get you going, to get you mentally on top of it, but it can overwhelm you. I think when I come off the track, sometimes I'll be shaking with the adrenaline. But if you're shaking before you go out, I think you're in trouble.
Well, when you look at past years of this championship race, there was 2, 3, maybe 4 guys that could win the whole thing. Now you have 20.
It's going to be looking around and figuring out, okay, what can I do to squeak one out this weekend? What can I do to overcome these odds? Because it's tough.
And anytime you can run in the top 10 of 100 cars that are going to run here, that's pretty lofty territory.
This is the one to win. It really is. I mean, the bar has been set higher this year, but through the qualifying rounds, through the 10 National Race Series. And like I said, you know who you're running against, and everybody else does too. And everybody's been tweaking on their car here the last half of the season to make things better, lighter, faster, and it's all on the table now.
I'm going to fight until the very end, and we're just going to play our best hand and see what happens.
Unlike any other RideTech Street Challenge autocross you've seen out here at Optima Search for the Ultimate Streetcar, at this one, it's a drag race from the start where we're gonna have a car on the left, a car on the right, and we're gonna see who comes out on top. And it's human nature for car guys to line up against other car guys and always try and race them. But here on this pro solo style autocross, you better not, because you've got to focus on the cones in your lane to make sure that your race is truly against the clock rather than against the guy in the lane next to you.
Nobody wants to lose.
There might be a slight intimidation factor there.
I mean, you're going to be racing just as hard as the next person to make sure that you're not crossing the line second.
The biggest thing is you just got to kind of put your blinders on and focus on you.
If at any point in this mirrored autocross that I'm even aware there's another car on the track, I've already lost.
But I don't care what the next guy's doing. The next guy could hit a cone. I don't care who it is. I mean, it could be Danny, it could be Brian. On an autocross course, any little mistake costs you.
I'll look very briefly, and that's it. Once I go, I'm not going to be looking to see if I'm ahead of them, because hopefully they're going to be behind me and I won't see them anyway.
Dude, you got your game face on. You were all smiley earlier, but you are not smiley now.
No, it's serious time right now. I got to process as much as I can in the next 20 minutes or so.
You're starting to get the taste in your mouth now that you're ready to go for it, and put everything you got out here on the autocross, go over there, do it again, get a little sleep tonight hopefully, and come back and finish it up tomorrow on the road course. So, it's beautiful weather, perfect conditions, no excuses now.
Yeah, if you give up a little bit back there, you're trucking through the finish. If you halt at the end of that slalom, you're going to be hosed at the end. You're going to run out of racetrack. The course is honestly pretty simple, but it's going to be tight and it's going to favor the smaller, lighter cars for sure. But we'll give it hell.
You've got to be confident in what you have underneath you, and you've just got to go out there and focus and get it done.
Everybody's in their own world now.
Where do you think you're going to stack up here?
I don't know, man. I mean,
you don't know.
Of course,
you've told us all year long, I don't know, the Camaro's okay, it's this, it's that, it's this. Wow! You're like nailing everybody, so.
I like to fly under the radar.
Yeah, I know, that's why you did it black. It's all stealth-like. Yeah, whatever. We're not listening to you anymore. I know you're going to go kill it.
We'll try.
To be competing in the same event with many of the guys that have won it in the previous years, and multi-time autocross champions, road course champions. It's an impressive group.
But you guys don't get very many laps, so you got to be on your game every lap and make sure you're not hitting cones. Here at Optima this year, it's changed because it's not just the 3-run format. Now you got 5 on each side. Does that change the way you drive this, or do you stay the same?
No, it lets you do a little more tuning.
Yeah.
Every surface, every track, everything's different. So, and actually when I heard 5 and 5, I was still really happy about it because a lot of the drivers out here who are coming into the autocross who might be specialists in road racing, it takes them 5, 10, 15 laps to get into a groove.
Right.
And I think that's really the advantage of guys like Hobah, Pop, myself have. So we got to make the most of that.
I came to play, and I'm going to do my darndest to kick some butt today.
In each event leading to Las Vegas, there were unlimited runs. Now, the stakes are higher.
You are pushing that cone as hard as you can push it.
Each competitor faces this simple plastic standard 5 times.
The cones are a god. You don't want to take them out.
Victory or defeat foretold in one little piece of plastic.
I mean, there's 100 cars in this competition. I'm one of them, so I got 99 problems with the cone ain't one.
The OPTIMA Ultimate Streetcar Invitational, presented by K&N. Competition. It is an activity, a contest, a gathering of people to display readiness, skill, strength, and desire. Competition requires staking a claim, then proving it, pushing oneself, displaying determination, striving for the finish, to stand tall, matchless, undaunted by your opponent, victorious.
And now it's time for everybody to get serious, because everything that's gone on up till now has led us to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where competitors are already changing settings before the racing even starts, where the guys who are used to joking are now full serious mode, and where we're gonna find out what car is gonna be dubbed the ultimate street car in America. Will it be a Nissan GTR, an old Mustang, a new Mustang, a Corvette, a high horsepower soccer mom Mercedes? Will it be all-wheel drive? Will it be two-wheel drive? Or will the kid take it home in the '69 Camaro? Or could it be the doctor who showed up with the Lambo? Ultimate Streetcar Association, OPTIMA search for the ultimate streetcar, and the dream was to have a variety like none other. You got a Lambo with a cage, you got a Mercedes, a WRX, a Chevelle, a Fairmont, Mustangs, a Grand National, Camaros, oh my. Could it have been better?
You missed a couple, but no, it could not have been better. I mean, we have cars from 1948 to 2015 and representing every decade. We have every American mark here. It's unbelievable.
Dude, even a Volvo.
I can't believe the Volvo. We saw the Volvo in Texas. He's here. He's having a great time.
It's going to be awesome. I got to tell you, we're ready for the first runs. The green flag's about to drop. It's getting real right now.
It's time to go hot.
The search is on for the ultimate street car, and it's going to start off with an epic battle. Todd Rumpke and the Corvette versus Loudon in the Mopar. The Dodge Viper trying to catch him smoking the tires with all that horsepower, but Rumpke's in the lead going around the big end of the course. Rumpke on the throttle hard, leading him through the S's, but Loudon is doing everything he can to catch up before the finish. Rumpke making the final corner on the throttle hard, and he is going to take this first heat. One of the most unlikely pairs we're going to see on the Ride-Tech Street Challenge Autocross is Vest in the 48 Buick up against Kapaner behind the wheel of the Lambo. The Buick has the lead at the hit and goes into the big end of the course first, making the left-hander, locking up the inside tire. Meanwhile, the all-wheel drive of the Lambo is trying to own it with 1,600 horse on top, making sure that he's trying to wheel that thing the best he can. Vest is all on the throttle through the finish line. In a battle of early versus late model Camaros, we got the kid behind the wheel of the 69, and the white monster 2010 Camaro from Detroit Speed is out on track with Ryan Matthews behind the wheel. both Detroit speed equipped, both battling it out right here. And which one's gonna take home the win? Because right now, the kid wants to take it all, but he's barely got a lead to play with. Up next, Gordon Phillips is taking on the Orange Rush C10 of Bob Bertelsen, driving his 55 Bel Air. And I gotta tell you, he's got a big challenge on his hands because Bertelsen is laying it all on the line in the C10. One of several competitors that are out here trying to prove that the big boxy pickup can take home the win against the classic muscle cars. In another battle of old versus new, the 5th gen Camaro of Brian Johnson goes up against Billy Utley in the Nova. Utley trying to stay out in front, going through the first part of the course, but as they get to the far end, Brian Johnson is in the lead. Can Utley catch him as he goes through the S's in this bad little Nova? I gotta tell you, Grandma wouldn't recognize this thing because it is no longer the grocery getter.
It's not a Camaro, it's not a Corvette. It's a Nova. Grandma's used it to go to the grocery store to get groceries. They loved that car. They wrote us a story when we bought it, how much the car meant to them and how good of a car it was for them, you know, as a transportation vehicle. They're so raw and violent, and that's what gets the adrenaline going.
Prouty in his 68 Camaro out of the Ride Tech stables is taking on the BBI Porsche driven by Seeley. On paper, the Porsche owns this deal, but Rodney is gonna give it his all and show him what the Camaro can do. At the big end, the Porsche going around the corner first, and they're heading into the S's. Rodney, with his foot to the floor, is laying it all on the line. Rodney sideways through the finish, spinning it around backwards, owning it. Tell me they're not giving it their all.
The OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
It's all business now as Smitty leads the starting line behind the wheel of his venerable C10, going up against the legend, Robbie Unser. Yeah, we're talking Pikes Peak and Indy here, folks, but now it's all about the Ride Tech Street Challenge Autocross, and Unser's got Smitty by the tailgate and is dragging him around the course. Unser on the throttle hard and sideways in the Chevy 2, taking home the win. Back on track, Bertelsen in the C10 taking on Dieter behind the wheel of the Hypo Soccer Mom vehicle. That Mercedes was on the dyno till 2 a.m., getting tuned up and ready for Optima's Ultimate Street Car Invitational. And it looks like it works as Dieter is way out front on Bertelsen going through the S's. We'll see what the scoreboard says.
I think this has probably been my favorite autocross setup. I definitely felt the left side was faster, but it was actually a second slower.
Big bad Brett Fogle is on the starting line behind the wheel of the Ride Tech 48-hour Camaro, taking on Wes Drelishak, who won the Spirit of the Event Award in Fontana and is hoping to put his Apache pickup at the top of the podium. But Brett Fogle isn't leaving anything to chance, on the throttle hard in the Camaro, showing Drelishak what the taillights look like. AJ Santiago showed up in his Nissan GTR with a new wrap and newfound horsepower, and he's putting it to use as he goes up against Stancil, leaving the starting line first. He is on the throttle and trying to make it count. But Stancil, also trying to put it all to the ground, screws up the line going down the course. Was the pressure of side-by-side action too much to handle? Santiago seems to be breezing through toward the finish line, but no, he screws it up too. Side-by-side competition proving to be the stressor here. Gordon Phillips is back out on track in his 55 Chevy this time, going up against Terry Fair, who's got the biggest front flares and the tallest wing in the business. Terry, not only killer on the track, but coming back after breaking his back in a bad accident at Road Atlanta earlier this year. He wants vengeance, and he wants it here in Vegas.
So the guy drops green flag, and I go, and then I see a shadow fly right across my field of vision. It totally took me off the track. I completely missed the first turn and cones, and just was like, oh no, this is done. All over.
In a battle of old versus new Nissans, Mark Frazier behind the wheel of the Z car is taking on Ron 80, a one lap of America champion behind the wheel of his all-wheel drive GTR. The sexiest players in the business on Frazier's cars allow him to put a ton of tire under it, and this old Z is giving that GTR a run for his money. Deb Farrington behind the wheel of her Cookie Wagon 64 Chevelle station wagon on the family vacation. Tom and Sam, her son, all here having fun, but Rumpke is in it to win it and pushing it to the limit. Finds it all the way out near the wall. Meanwhile, Deb passing him on the big end, taking the wagon through the slalom and into the lead. Justin Stone, your 2014 national champion, brought out his WRX all the way from Pennsylvania to race here in Las Vegas. And Steve Loudon in the Viper trying to show him that big American power can be enough to take home the win in the USCA, where he says this is going to be his home for racing from here on out. The WRX in the lead though going into the slalom. The Viper trying to play catch-up. The little all-wheel drive taking the win. Jeff Montgomery has the unfortunate circumstance of having to take on the former champion Brian Hobaugh in a battle of mid-year C2 Corvettes. I gotta tell you, these two cars, both with fender flares, both with horsepower, but Hobaugh, his experience on a pro solo course, clearly giving him the advantage as he aims that red Corvette hard at the finish. Matt Dowd in his 67 Mustang is taking on Sam Farrington, one of the crowd favorites whose 66 Chevelle has been run all season long. Dowd trying to take the win in the Mustang, but Sammy not gonna leave anything to chance, locking up the inside tire on the throttle hard. Sammy looking good, but I gotta tell you, the Mustang is gaining some ground. Who's it gonna be as they go to the finish? The Farringtons are taking the win. Dan Howe and Steve Kepler on the starting line now. Dan still trying to wipe the grin off his face after his Kerry Earnhardt surprise earlier in the season at Daytona. But Kepler, who traveled all across the country racing this GTR, doesn't care. He wants the win and wants to show that the all-wheel drive cars can take home a win here in Las Vegas. But Howe catching up, getting close, but Kepler through the line first. Smedegaard in the little S2000 trying to show what high wind and import power can do. Meanwhile, Mr. Porter took the Porsche and jammed an LS V8 out of a Corvette in it and calls it the Porvette. American horsepower, German handling, but none of that gonna save him when he gets in too deep and is behind the 8-ball going through the slalom. But Smedegaard taking the win, no problem.
Maybe I was pushing it too hard. You know, I saw what Brandon ran, and again, competitive. I want to get there.
OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
Two competitors that have got a lot to prove. Ken Swen in the Honda trying to show that it can keep up with all the legends, and Brandy Phillips, a woman driving a brand new, untested pickup truck here in Las Vegas. Brandy looking good on the autocross, making the far corner, unwinding the wheel like a pro. She is handling herself well. Meanwhile, Ken Swen nowhere to be found as Brandy goes through the finish line. Solomon, who's the leader of the pack with regards to the RS Motors crew, in arguably their best prepared Evo, leaving the starting line and showing everybody what this little car can do. Meanwhile, Neer, behind the wheel of the Mustang, is trying to play catch-up and not doing the greatest job of it. On track, the timer is what matters, but these guys want bragging rights for the finish.
The mirrored autocross it's exciting. You think it's the same, but it's completely different.
Stilo in the Hellfire Camaro going up against longtime rival Danny Pop behind the wheel of his blue Z06. Stilo in that brand new, virtually untested car going up against the venerable Corvette. Danny wears this thing like an old pair of jeans, and it shows as he is super fast through the slalom, taking this one with ease. Ken Thwaites in the Z28 going up against Monty Pack in the Porsche. The Z28, the car that Ken decided to run here this weekend because it's faster in testing versus the 1LE he won the championship with, means that this is going to be one of the cars to watch, and he's giving it to the Porsche in a really big way.
During the normal season, you're getting 10, 15, 20 laps on an autocross. Here you get 5. So you've got to be able to learn the track, lay down your time in 5 laps, and that's it.
Autocross legend Mad Mike Meyer behind the wheel of the Mike Meyer Inc. 66 Mustang, taking on the dentist, Brandon Ranbeck, in an Evo that is absolutely tearing up the course. Meyer doesn't like the fact that that little all-wheel drive is in the lead, and he is flying through the slalom. At this pace, this is going to be the quickest lap of the weekend. But Tim in the Porsche leaving ahead of Joe Escobar in the Pinto. The fact that he's in the lead doesn't mean he ain't nervous, because Escobar is giving it all he's got. The little Pinto that could, says kaboom on the license plate, and that's for a reason. But Tim looking good though, the Porsche flying through the middle of the course. He is going to take the win here, but Joe Escobar's Pinto is still the crowd favorite. John Lazarak behind the wheel of what may be the coolest Dodge Conquest on planet Earth is going up against Phillip in the golden ticket winning Mustang. Lazarak looking good, Phillip trying to take the win here, but going off track already as Lazarak is through the slalom looking good, locks up the inside front tire, on the throttle hard, big lead. Phillip in the wrong lane, going the wrong way. It won't matter, Lazarak is quick and through the lights. The always dangerous Kyle Tucker leaving the starting line up against Robert Jackson's Chevrolet-powered Volvo. Kyle trying to run the big number right here, always the man to watch, but the Volvo giving him a run for his money. Kyle on the throttle hard, drifting it sideways, the big BFG's hooking up. That Detroit Speed Camaro getting to the finish line first and hauling the mail. After the dust settles, Ranvek takes the top spot behind the wheel of the RS Motors all-wheel drive Evo, but right behind him, Danny Pop and Brian Hobaugh wheeling those 2 Corvettes, and then Solomon and Carroll carrying the torch for RS Motors come in the number 4 and 5 spot.
The OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
We're back in Las Vegas for the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge. And if you think these guys aren't laying it all on the line, watch this. Big or small, everybody is getting them sideways as they come out of turn 1 and through the cones. Corvette with twin turbo power laying down the smoke and laying down the horsepower. Locking up the tires on each and every run. Flat spots are free here at the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge. Taking out cones is the norm here as they try and stop in the box after running them all out. is the norm going around that first corner, and then it's big speed, but even the veterans taking out cones and trying to get to the front. Come along as we take you on a ride for Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge. Leaving the starting line hard on the throttle, this was where the speed comes in. Through the left-hander, down the straightaway, zigging it right to left, and into the box at 90 mile an hour. John Lazarak spends his days working at GM designing new cars and comes home to his Aero Lab where he works on his Dodge Conquest. He's up next on the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge, leaving the starting line hard, putting down those big horsepower numbers from the LS power plant under the hood, through the slalom, hard on the throttle, banging cones, and into the box.
Usually I have trouble with the braking part. This time it was just getting through the chicane without hitting something.
It actually was something that I was kind of hoping I would favor, but it kicked me in the ass.
Chris Gonzalez leaving the starting line in Barney, hard on the throttle, banging gears, and going for the left-hander. Will it be enough as he goes through the slalom section and aims this thing at the box? He's got to know that this is what's going to count. Locking him up and stops just in time. Jake Rizal, the kid, with his game face on, getting ready to leave the starting line right now. On the throttle hard, under the arch, putting big boy power to the ground. The kid into the left-hander, hanging it out sideways, and through the slalom. He isn't leaving anything on the table. Hard on the gas as he goes for the box and stops it perfect with no tire smoke.
The speed stop was gnarly. It was fast. It had the wall right next to you if you messed up. It was a man's man speed stop. Corvettes are probably one of the best cars to do this type of diverse thing right out of the box. The difference is for me, I ruined the box. I went land speed racing and I changed the whole setup to go straight. So now I'm kind of backpedaling a little bit from going 202 miles an hour to go, okay, I gotta make this thing turn. My initial thought was it's a Corvette and we'll have no problem. I was dead wrong.
Rick Hoback has horsepower to spare with twin-turbo LS power under the hood. He makes it through the slalom, hard on the throttle, using the ABS brakes, but blows it out of the box.
Well, I expected with big horsepower to become barreling through there and just hammer it. And that little chicane they put in there just kind of made it a little tricky, and I started getting power right as that chicane would come on and the car would get loose in the rear, so I really never got a real strong pass. We had 5 passes and I kept creeping in on it, but I never got that strong pass. So that was a little bit disappointing for me, just from, you know, my perspective. I have the right car to do it in, and it just was bad timing on that course.
This competition kind of gets down to some five things that Optima has decided to define a street car. It's kind of an interesting challenge. It's one thing to stand there with your hand on your hood saying this thing makes 1,200 horsepower and is the baddest thing ever. It's another thing, fired up and driving it to the track and showing people. So it's I'm from Missouri, the show me state. You know, let's go.
And he showed him for sure as Stilo not afraid to hang it out on his first run on the speed stop. On his second run, Stilo leaving the starting line hard behind the wheel of his gorgeous brand new 69 Camaro. Sideways and on the throttle through the left-hander, through the chicane nice and clean. Stilo trying for a big number. On the brakes hard, the ABS working.
Speed stop can be really tough on the tires, especially on a car with no ABS. So that's something I have to approach very aggressive to get a good time. The car's done well. We've done well in a lot of the speed stops this year.
Kyle on the throttle hard, hanging it out as he goes around the left-hander through the chicane. Big power, putting it to the ground and stopping it without ABS. Almost perfect. Carl Dunn leaving the starting line in his ABS-equipped Corvette is really trying to move as he goes through the chicane at top speed. ABS working like a champ. Carl stopping it right before the cone. But Tim leaving the starting line in the BBI Autosport Porsche looking good. He is all about fun, but he is as serious as they come. On the throttle hard, the thing sideways, really looking good, ABS working, and Tim stops it in the box and gives us the celebratory happy dance.
The four-wheel drive and the launch control on these is insane. With comp tuning, we're able to dial in our launch, so we actually turned the boost down a little bit on the launch, and I mean, I think at one of them, somebody said I carried the inside tire, so that is, we have a huge advantage there.
Joey Seeley trying to take a clue from team leader Tim in the other BBI Autosports Porsche, leaving the starting line and looking good. Smooth as fast here on the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge, but I gotta tell you, Seeley, a little early on the brakes, rolls it in conservative.
OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
The RS Motorsports crew has shown up to a bunch of events this year and are out in force, and Sean Carroll is carrying the torch as the first runner here on the Willwood Disc Brakes Speed Stop Challenge. Through the middle of the course, that all-wheel drive pulling him through the chicane. Carroll trying to be the guy that sets the bar. Andy Smedegaard, the only rear-wheel drive car in the RS Motorsports camp, is hoping that his lightweight, high-winding S2000 can pull off a win here in the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge. He's on the brakes hard, looking smooth, and barely makes it.
The car doesn't make much power. It doesn't get going very fast. It doesn't have much torque. So after we get up to speed, that's where I had the advantage.
Ronnie Solomon, the head cheerleader of RS Motors, is on track, pulling big speed as he goes through the chicane, but he's blown every single lap so far. Will he do it this time? Nope.
I was picking up speed through the chicane, so I was changing some of the gearing. I was getting some tips from Brandon. I didn't realize I was carrying a lot more speed coming in, and then adjust my braking, but it's different from the run before.
Brandon Randbeck leaving harder than any all-wheel drive car we've seen so far. All four wheels spinning, he's calm, cool, and collected, putting all that power to the ground. On the throttle hard, into the box, and stopping it textbook style.
I compete over everything. You know, whether it be, getting the biggest cup out of the, stack of cups. I want the biggest cup, and that is just, it's in me, and that's what kind of fuels me, it drives me, and that's why I guess I feel like it makes me as fast as I am, because I'm always trying to better myself, and I compete with myself all the time.
On her first race weekend in a brand new truck and her first run on the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge, Brandy Phillips spins the C10 out and doesn't get a number. But on her second lap, the consummate professional, she slides it in the box, looking like a veteran. Every competitor throwing all they got at it, including Tim Strange, who's sliding his Camaro in like he's done all season long. Dan Ballard out there in his Nova said, I don't need to be in Vegas, I want to be in Vegas, and showing it what he's got. Alan Palmer behind the wheel of the first-gen Corvette, looking good as he drives this thing through the chicane, showing that a show car can handle out on the racetrack. And Dan Howe showing the naysayers that it may only be a G-body on the outside, but it's what's underneath that counts.
A lot of people look at my Monte Carlo and they say that's just a G-body. There's no way this car is going to compete with that car. And it's what's underneath the car that they need to take a look at.
OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
My pride and satisfaction in my car is not in the paint job. That's obvious. Most of the paint on my car is almost 49 years old now, with a few touch-ups and sprays along the way. My satisfaction is from the system working together. The the time that I spent in actually sitting down and drawing and designing and machining a lot of the components that I put in this car to make it my own car.
Yeah, you got to go do it right now. It isn't no fooling around anymore. We're gonna, you got to be game on right from the get-go.
Rumpke looking good as he leaves the starting line, hard on the throttle and around the left-hander. He sets it up perfectly for the chicane and comes through it at lightning speed. On the throttle, hard into the box, and stops it just about perfect.
There is no such thing as perfect to me. There is really good, but there's no such thing as perfect. So, but we always strive for perfect, and if the gods and Lady Luck are good enough to us, maybe we will be perfect this weekend. Who knows? We'll try.
As Danny leaves the starting line, we'll see if he can improve on the number that Rumpke just puts up. He said Rumpke ain't perfect, and neither is he, but we're about to watch how he puts on a display of perfection here at the speed stop. How fast can you get going before you hit the stop box?
I'm not looking. I mean, we're in second gear in this car, probably 96, 97 miles an hour at 7,500 RPM, and I'm not hitting the chip, but we're rolling strong up there, I can tell you that.
So 90 mile an hour and then trying to stop in that little bitty box.
That's basically what's going on. I've had 2 deep stops there, and the Rob down there with the long hair, the stop box official's like, got big eyes, but he's out throwing the red flag, so we'll take those.
Good. Terry Fair showing that everything's bigger in Texas, including fender flares and wings, is leaving the starting line, driving it hard as he runs around the left-hander, just one of the competitors coming from across the country. Through the chicane, hard on the throttle, rolling it into the lights, looking good as Terry stops it in the box. Bob Bertelsen leaving the starting line out to prove that C10 Chevy pickups aren't just for carrying plywood anymore. Bertelsen on the throttle right next to the cone sideways and sliding it right into the box.
Trucks aren't slow anymore. I've had a ton of people come up and just say, man, it's just fun to watch the trucks out there and see your truck that it looks like a showpiece and yet you're beating it to death out there. And we run them hard. We're here to compete. Just because they're a truck doesn't mean they can't win the event.
Todd Ersley behind the wheel of the My Shop Assist Evo, leaving the starting line. He knows what this means as he's finished in the top 5 at Optima before. On the throttle, hard down the straightaway. Will he pick the right time to hit the brakes?
Long acceleration, just a little bit of turning, and then it was a long straightaway with no markers whatsoever. So it was pure driver confidence in the car of where to stop.
Robert Jackson in the Volvo trying to show that the Swedes know what they're doing as he goes around the left-hander here on the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge. Looking good, but sideways as he rolls it through the chicane. Will Robert stop it in time as he heads toward the box at speed? No, a little early. Larry Wu using his home-built tire warmers to keep the tire temperature on his all-wheel drive Porsche at the optimum level. He's hoping that this will insulate him from a loss out here on the Willwood Disc Brake Speed Stop Challenge, where he leaves the starting line good. The Porsche really working. It is hooked up. The traction working as he goes through the chicane, a little sideways on the brakes hard, and clearly the tires doing their job. Jordan Priestley in the 5th Gen Camaro looking good as he's trying to carry the torch for all the Chevrolet guys. On the brakes, using the ABS, stopping it like a champ. James Shipka out on track in his early Camaro. Looking good, big tires up front, providing the grip. Brett Vocal behind the wheel of the RideTech 48-hour Camaro, hanging it out in the dirt and not slowing him down one bit as Brett aims it for the box here in the Speed Stop Challenge. Cliff Elliott out there in his cool Mustang, wrecked this car both at Road America and at Pittsburgh, but it looks like it's fixed, except for the grill. On top of the leaderboard were Randvik, Barisha, Wu, Ersley, and Pop.
OPTIMA Ultimate Streetcar Invitational, presented by K&N.
How do you design and engineer to beat a Riddler car? You know, you've got Stilo's car, you've got so many beautiful cars, and so many bizarre cars that you can't even gauge.
Lingenfelter's Design and Engineering Challenge had a first here in Las Vegas because a Riddler winning car, this Buick Riviera, was out on track and in competition. Never before has anyone driven a Riddler car this hard, and it's no surprise that it won Design and Engineering.
It's our industry's way of saying this is the finest show car in the industry. This is the 2014 Riddler Award. Within the same year of winning, we decided we should take it racing and prove what the car was made of and prove why we built the car, why we put a roll cage in it, why we fed it twin turbos with horsepower, why we put big brakes on it and good chassis underneath it. It's amazing to build art out of cars and artistic, but if you were to do a custom home, would you not live in it? It's not because it's art that it shouldn't serve its primary function. And I think what we're doing here is above and beyond that for sure. I mean, we're sitting here having the time of our lives, spinning the car out in circles, pouring exhaust out, laying it. I think I did 140 miles on the straightaway. Freaked me out. I've never been that fast in the car. I've got no practice with the car at all, so I'm learning it throughout the day, but I gotta say I'm impressed and I'm having the time of my life.
Tim Vest's 48 Buick is another car that grabbed everyone's attention out here in Las Vegas. Jonathan Ward and the crew at Icon put this thing together to look like an old car, but run like a new one.
That car gets so much love. That's one of my favorite things about that style that we build at Icon. We call it derelicts, and the whole idea is to find that barn fine, romantic, but not really rusted out, just healthy patina and sense of history. I mean, kind of everything we do at Icon's about, you know, revisiting the past in a modern context. So it's kind of to me, like rolling sculpture. And yeah, you're right in that keeping the past alive by, you know, breathing more functionality into cars that in at least most non-car guys' eyes are sort of archaic, and what are you going to do with it? It's sort of yard art, but it's a blast.
After a long day of racing, the competitors are hitting the road for the Detroit Speed Road Rally, leaving here from the racetrack, heading to Fremont Street in downtown Vegas, and then on to Shelby of America.
OPTIMA Ultimate Streetcar Invitational, presented by K&N.
RS Motors we're just a bunch of like-minded car enthusiasts.
I guess if there was one message we want to send to everyone that's watching, it's just anyone can do it.
I want to have the opportunity to show everybody that you can do a lot with a little.
You know, everybody measures success different, but having a success to win an event and, you know, work hard building up to that and then have it pay off, you know, it's a great accumulation to what you're trying to achieve.
We're all kind of like, you know, the blue collar worker kind of people, so we just, you know, for us to like put money in our cars, it's like dedication, it's you know, it's putting off, you know, something that I was going to do on the house or something like that.
We like to push each other. You know, it's not about competition all the time. We like to just have people improve on their driving, and if we're helping them, it's awesome.
And to have a benchmark out there to reach for, you learn from them. If you are that benchmark, what are you going to learn? Nothing.
For Ronnie, I can just say he's very grateful for the way that we have gelled as a group. He's an amazing, amazing guy.
I'm speechless. It's actually, I don't even make I love these guys. I've never advertised my shop. These guys do it all for me. I can't say enough. We already won. This is winning right here. Perfect.
It's Sunday morning, and after yesterday's action, everybody's worried about the all-wheel drives.
They accelerate like rocket ships, they brake like they've got an anchor behind them, and they can turn on a dime. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I don't know that I get real nervous. I get some adrenaline flowing, I get a little bit jittery, I guess some people might call it nervous energy.
He was great out on the speed stop and owned the autocross yesterday, and now it's time for the BF Goodrich Hot Lap Challenge, where Brandon Randvik is trying to take home the win. But remember, he only finished mid-pack in Lingenfelter's Design and Engineering Challenge, which makes this more important than ever for him to come out on top here on the road course. The drama builds as Randvik blows it up. He may be out of competition as this thing is hurt. You can see he is unhappy getting out of the car and that this engine is not in as good a shape as it started in. It looks like some of the internal parts have broken. He's pressurized the crankcase and blown oil out of this thing. If it's that bad, his weekend is over.
My warm-up lap, dialing things in, getting tires warmed up, getting the brakes heated up, and then I did one flying lap. So I got one solid flying lap in. It was my first look at the track, so I don't know if it'll stick, but at least I got one little dog in the fight. But yeah, coming around in the second lap, lost power and lost a little oil pressure, started hearing some knocks, so the motor wasn't healthy. Motor's done.
I don't know if you heard the news yet. Did you hear that Randvik blew it up?
Oh no.
Oh yeah. He made one warm-up lap and one hot lap, and that's it. And he goes, that time is not gonna stick, I don't think. And he's crushed, as you can imagine.
Oh, that's true, yeah. He was kicking our butts actually yesterday.
I know, and so what does that mean for you guys?
Well, I guess his times aren't gonna count. It's wide open because from what I know, I don't know all the results, but it looks like he was pretty well in front, and I don't know if any of the four-wheel drive were up there.
Right.
So, if that's the case, yeah, it's wide open. This is it now on the track.
I hate that for him. There's a bunch of discrepancies of what the rules actually are right now. I know it's happened in years past because I've been in that boat myself. Unless they change something, I think he's still all right.
Because everybody's used to the rules for all of our qualifying events during the year where 5 laps are required on the BF Goodrich Hot Lap Challenge, everybody's confused as to whether that's the rule or a different one here at OUSCI. So we're with Wally Olzak, who is the official rules keeper, and what is the verdict?
The verdict is, and I know this already, but I'm going to go to the official rules. It is rule number 7. Rule number 7 states, all event participants must compete in all segments of the event to qualify for any awards. So he has competed, he has 1 lap, he's good to go.
So he has competed. That means that strategies could change as guys think that he is out right now. We're gonna have to go spread the word in the pits and see what the response is.
That 240Z is dumping gas all over the place. He's got flames coming out, gas flying everywhere.
The action is heating up and everybody is trying to run a big number to beat up on Randvik, including Carl Dunn and Kyle Tucker. Solomon's out there trying to beat his boy as well. These guys trying to run hard, killing all the curbing. This is what OPTIMA's Ultimate Street Car Invitational is all about. If you think these guys aren't willing to tear them up, watch this. Down the straightaways, around the curves, Las Vegas Motor Speedway is getting torn up by horsepower as each and every guy out here lays it on the line. Shipka sideways, everybody all in, all done, because they've only got one more session after this to throw down a number that's going to give them the win. Even the wily veterans like Mike Meyer and AJ Santiago are throwing it down. And if you think the pressure isn't on, watch Kyle Tucker as he's sideways at over 100 miles an hour chasing down Billy Utley. And Danny Pop killing the curbing, trying to take home the big number. And look at Ryan Matthews and the kid throwing it down here in Vegas. Mark Stilo, one of the veterans of the road course, on the throttle hard here for the BF Goodrich Hot Lap Challenge. Around the first right-hander in turn 1, driving it to the edge and using the curbing hard in order to slide that Camaro over onto the line. As he goes toward the middle of the race course, this is where patience becomes the key. as the heavy hitters hit the course, they are out for blood, which means that a good clean lap is going to be the key. But Rumpke and Carl Dunn don't seem to know that as they're racing each other around the track. And Ryan Matthews also out there tearing it up with the kid, Jake Rizal, who is trying to run a big lap and see if Matthews can give him the line. Rumpke now with Meyer. Meyer sideways. They are pushing it to the limit. Let me tell you, folks, this is serious, and I mean in a big way. Terry Fair going to the outside, using up all the racetrack. Oh, and even more as Carl Dunn going off track, deciding the gravel is not where he wants to be. Stilo has come out with a brand new car, and with only 2 test sessions on it, some might think, how can he actually push it this hard? But the truth of the matter is, since he put it together himself, he knows what every part and piece can take and knows just how far he could push this Camaro in an attempt to get to the winner's circle.
So when you've built it all from scratch, you want to have that personal satisfaction of knowing I torqued the lower control arm bolt, I torqued this, I torqued that, and in the back of my mind, I'm always listening for something coming loose, and I'm feeling for something that's not quite right in the car, because, you know, if you can't afford to write it off, don't take it to the track. But with that said, you got to make sure that you're being safe when you're on track, because these are fairly fast cars. You need to make sure that the thing's performing properly so you don't have an off.
If you haven't been paying attention, then you may not have noticed, but Stilo's Camaro, pretty good at shooting a big flame under deceleration. Late in the season, we saw more and more Nissan GTRs coming out to play in Optima's search for the ultimate street car. And Casey Wallace is one of those guys who showed up in his GTR in Vegas. And with good reason. These cars absolutely have big power and big handling, and with a few add-ons, can play with anyone out here on the BF Goodrich Hot Lap Challenge. But one of the challenges that these guys face, in addition to being out there with the best of the best, is how to differentiate themselves in a class of multiple GTRs.
It's bragging rights, you know, it's pride. That's why my car has red wheels and a satin wrap on it, you know. It's to stand out, be a little bit different than the next guy, and we're all individuals out here, and when you get honored for having that little piece of you in your car, it just makes it that much more special.
The Optima Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
Amongst all these super sexy cars, what's the response been to the little boxy Fairmont?
It's not sexy? Come on, I'm calling it the pheromone because it just oozes sex appeal.
Proving that the Volvo is at home in the drive-thru as it is on the racetrack, Robert Jackson and his lovely bride tied the knot, Las Vegas, Ultimate Streetcar Invitational style, just to top off a great weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Sunday afternoon, the final run group on the BF Goodrich Hot Lap Challenge. They got one more shot to make it count.
Course here is really neat. It's got a ton of corners, ton of technical stuff, a couple big straightaways, lots of big, tall apex barriers to run across. I mean, it's really neat. The back stretch, you're driving right at a building. I mean, you're flat out building brake markers, hammer on the brakes, and make a right-hand turn. And it's tough when you're staring at a building. It's really the only marker out there.
From a driving standpoint, I think it's where I'm the most experienced and kind of my best segment as well from a driving perspective. But it's also the last event to score any points. So, you know, we are what we are from yesterday, and now we just got to go out and hammer down and try and, you know, score as best we can this last event and make up some additional points.
We just came off the road course. There were 3 of us. Smitty in his pickup truck, Chris in the Corvette, and the Camaro. And I don't know what else was going on the track for the last 20 minutes, but it was, as far as I was concerned, there were only 3 of us on there, and we were having the time of our life.
While the other guys are out there having a good time, Todd Rumpke is trying to run a real number. After a pep talk from Danny Pop that said, hey, you've had issues all year long, but I know that Snoopy can win it all, so get out there and do what you're capable of.
For me, I feel like I do have something to prove. Like I said, we've had trouble throughout the year with different things with the car. I've got cut short some seat time, so hopefully this is my awakening and I can lay it all down right now.
I think the qualifying events going around the country really pulled talent from areas that maybe we hadn't done before. And the variety, having the 3 different classes up until this point of making sure that they fulfill it with all-wheel drive and the lighter cars, whatever advantage that they have just because of the lightness. And just making sure that we have 3 groups, it's more than that really, but definitely 3 distinctive groups coming together to see who's the ultimate street car.
I've been racing cars for 28 years, and if I haven't learned from the experiences in 28 years, I've got bigger problems than that. So experience is very important in anything you want to be successful at. I mean, you can be book smart about it, but having practical experience is paramount.
But Tim in the BBI Autosports Porsche says that when you show up in a Porsche, you've got a target on your back. But he says he loves the American Iron and just loves the chance to hang it out right alongside him.
I feel that we have a lot to prove with the Europeans, and that, we don't want to be these hoity-toity cars that don't get hammered on. I mean, we build these cars to beat the death out of, and you have to if you want to run in the same arena with the top dogs in this event. It's about building something that you went up against some of the best people and the strongest street cars on the planet. I mean, you've got people coming from all over, and this is a well-known event, and it says a lot if you can place. It says a lot if you win. It says a lot if you finish the event.
Jim Stansel wanted to be the fastest guy with a Mercedes or an AMG, and while the 2 of those companies have put together a really stout piece, he didn't want to be like everybody else. But instead of wrenching on his in the garage, he called the experts. The guys from Weistech put the tune and put the package together that could put him on top.
They come to us because they don't want to pull up to another car at a stoplight that has the exact same horsepower straight off the showroom floor. And it's the same thing. They want something more, they want something better. And not to mention the adrenaline feel of the horsepower. It's something that a lot of people need in their life, and we're a group here that needs it. And so we provide it for people.
After wearing out tires on the BF Goodrich Hot Lap Challenge, Pop, Matthews, Johnson, Rumpke, and 80 were in the top spots.
OPTIMA Ultimate Street Car Invitational, presented by K&N.
Alan Palmer showed up in a Corvette that looks like it'd be more at home on the show car grounds than out here on the race course in Las Vegas, which is why they chose him for the Ride Tech Renegade Award, because this guy brought a knife to a gunfight.
In 3rd place, with a total score of 90.733, car number 19, the 2009 Porsche 911 Twin Turbo of Tim Berisha.
I feel like I didn't have much to do with it. It's what everybody have put together and put me. I was just a guy doing this in the seat, and having a good time. And it's the car that everybody has built, and all of our partners and everything that they came together. And they've such without a hiccup. And then, I'm a mechanical guy, so I'm beating the snot out of this car, everything it has. And I'm thinking in my head, how much of this thing can it take? Temperature stays fine, everything's fine. You come around, go drive it, get gas, come back, just sit there, starts up the next time. The reliability is unreal.
The 2nd place finisher with a score of 105.40. Anybody write that down? 105.40 is car number 22, the 2006 Mitsubishi Evo of Brandon Ranvick.
It was a tough day, you know, to have the car break after just one lap is heartbreaking, because I told you before, we have a lot of supporters and a lot of people following us, and I really wanted to do, you know, the best job I could and just show appreciation for their support. It's heartbreaking for me to go out that way.
And the winner of the 2014 Optima Ultimate Street Car Champion with the score of 105.867. Less than 0.4 of a point. Goes to car number 10, the 2003 Chevy Corvette of Danny Cobb. Can I get a hug, brother? There it is, everybody gets a hug. So Danny.
Yesterday I felt like we were the best of the rest. I knew we were going to do really good today, though. And, we just had to keep ourselves in contention. And, the autocross is decidedly an all-wheel drive kind of thing, and the fact that we beat all but one is good, so we'll come back next year, we'll sharpen the knife a little bit more, and we'll see what we're going to do with the Lingenfelder group, and we'll try to repeat again, try to put it on here a third time if we can. If we can be that lucky, we want to be on there a third time.
The inaugural season for Optima's Search for the Ultimate Street Car has been about battles with the underdogs and the legends on tracks across the country. And those underdogs have given the legends a run for their money in a season that nobody is gonna forget.